I'm Rishita. I live in Washington, D.C. I recently moved here from Toronto, and I am in strategic operations.
Strat Ops. I love it. Very, very cool. Well, we're really thrilled, as I was just telling you earlier, about your new gig. So congratulations to you. But I'm wondering if you could walk us back a little bit to kind of where you were prior to coming into Career Amp. So what was happening that prompted you to look for some help?
Yeah, I would say I was all over the place before I joined the program. So I had been looking for a role for around 4 months at that point because I left Canada, I moved to the States, and I had to start from scratch. So did not have a big network in the States, obviously. And I was trying to figure out what I want to do next. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, I've done a little bit of that and a little bit of that. So maybe I can apply to this role and that role. So I was doing that, reaching out to whoever I possibly could, applying to all the different roles before I joined Career Amp. And then I realized that I needed some direction and then some strategic direction and coaching. And that is why I decided to join.
Amazing. Awesome. I'm so glad our paths crossed and we found each other. And as you were, you identified you needed some help. You're maybe hitting your head against the wall in terms of the application stuff and moving to a new place, which I completely understand. As you were evaluating different types of coaching partners to partner with,
Yeah.
what was important to you and ultimately made you decide to choose Career?
I think a couple different things, but the main reason was I was looking at other coaches and some other programs, but the number one thing that made me choose Career Amp was because the coaches were from the industry that like all of you, they're amazing quality, and all of you had been in the corporate world. So like everybody knew what goes on in the corporate world and the behind the scenes, whereas most other programs were just people who have been in the coaching industry their entire career. So I feel like I was able to relate to that more. And of course, the presentation on the side door method and how the approach is very different. And it was very unique
Awesome. I love that. Yes. And shout out to the coaches if you're watching this.
for sure.
So great, Rashida. Okay, cool. And then, okay, so great. You hopped into the program. What would you say was maybe like your first aha moment or like, oh, I'm recognizing this as maybe like an early win inside of the program once you joined?
Yes. So my very first coaching call when I was told you want to present yourself as a specialist and not a generalist, because I feel like I was trying to be that. I was like, oh, I can do that and that and that, and I've done that, and I feel like clearly it wasn't working. And then I completely switched my strategy to portraying myself and showing those skills as a specialist in a given area. That's when everything just flipped around.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
funny how that like small change, it's the antithesis
Yeah,
of what we think
exactly.
happens. Yeah, but it works. So
Yeah.
I'm stoked that you recognize that. That's great. Okay, cool. And then next question is, what would you consider your biggest win? So as I was doing some math, I saw from the time that you joined to the time that we saw that you got an offer, it was about 8 or 9 weeks.
Yes.
So I'm curious if you would consider that your biggest win, or was it something else along the way? Like what's most powerful for you?
I would say the clarity was the biggest win. Again, based on all of the exercises that I went through and the conversations with all of the coaches and them trying to dig deeper into what is it that I really want, what are the non-negotiables, and them helping me figure it out and having that list in front of me that helped me evaluate first the companies, the job description, where I see myself going in life, because I feel like most of the times you kind of forget about it and you're just looking at it from a certain perspective. But because all of the exercise had some personal and professional aspects included in them, really made that difference. And it solidified what roles am I going after and what titles am I going after. Because before I had a list of like 9 different titles in my LinkedIn alerts, but I was kind of monitoring. But after this, it changed, which was a big win. Again, timelines. And another one was just the clarity in interviews as well about how to position myself and what skills to highlight, which I didn't completely have before.
That's so great. That's so great. I got chills just you talking about that. That's so wonderful. I'm so, so happy for you. Okay, last question, which is if someone's watching our conversation right now and perhaps they're on the fence, maybe like you, when you were thinking about joining Career Amp, what would you want them to hear?
I would say definitely go for it because it's a great program. And the other thing, which I didn't talk about, but it's really important, is the community that you get with the program, because you get to talk to people weekly and in the group chat with people who are in the same boat as you. And you get to hear their stories. And I have learned a lot from just the conversations that I read in the group of this is what I did and this is what ended up happening. And I was like, oh, maybe I could do that. So I think just getting that community is also a big help in understanding that you're not alone in this, which really helps. And again, the coach is always there for you, the program always there for you. It's like the responses to all of my questions were like less than 20 minutes, so that's
I love that. I love that. Well, it's been such a pleasure, Rashida. Anything else that you wanted to add before we sign off?
no, just thank you for the amazing experience, and I learned a lot. I changed my strategy completely, and that clearly worked.
Well, coming from a strat ops person, that means a lot for you saying that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you and just congratulations.